Good morning. Welcome everyone to the first Energy Technology Transfer and Workforce Development webinar. I'm Liz Roselle, and right now I have the title of Director of this initiative, affectionately called the Energy TT and WD. I'm not quite sure how this happened, as I'm the retired Vice President of Instruction from Bakersfield College and was also a former engineering faculty and department chair. What I do know is that I'm really excited to see how the energy sector is expanding in Kern County with innovative collaborations. Let me start by introducing our core partners for this collaboration with Kern Community College District. The National Renewable Energy Laboratories, Nrel for short, has the technical expertise in understanding how research and technology transfer is developing. Our core Nrel team advising and guiding us includes Scott Haase, Executive Manager, State and Local Strategic Partnerships, Ellen Morris, Director, University Partnerships Program, Owen Cinnamon, Senior Researcher, Policy Analysis. I'm very excited to announce that we have a fully executed Memorandum of Understanding between National Renewable Energy Laboratories and Kern Community College District, Bakersfield College, to coordinate on collaborative activities that support the workforce development, technology transfer, research, innovation, outreach, and analysis for expansion opportunities in the energy sector. We also have a great partnership with Kern County, working with Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Planning and Natural Resources, and a new recruit to the team, Teresa Hitchcock, Assistant County Administrative Officer. Today's webinar is divided into two sessions, and we should be wrapped up by 11:15 a.m. The first session highlights leaders with a vested interest in energy who will provide their perspective on the intersection of this program with their energy concerns. The second session is a moderated conversation between representatives from the three core partners: Sonia Christian, President of Bakersfield College representing the Kern Community College District, Dave Mooney, Executive Director, Institutional Planning, Integration, and Development representing Nrel, and Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Planning and Natural Resources representing Kern County. At this point, I will begin by providing the lineup of speakers for session one. Please go to the webinar website to read the full bios of today's speakers. Tom Burke is our esteemed Chancellor of the Kern Community College District, who will be giving introductory remarks for this webinar. Leticia Perez is the chair of the Kern County Board of Supervisors and has been an early cheerleader for the development of the Energy TT and WD program. She is also the first woman to be chair of the Board of Supervisors, which is particularly special since this year marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Dave Mooney is Executive Director, Institutional Planning, Integration, and Development at the National Renewable Energy Laboratories in Golden, Colorado. He provides a national perspective on the research and integration of renewable and efficiency technologies into the existing energy infrastructure. Kathy Reese Boyd is President of the Western States Petroleum Association, overseeing the trade organization's operations and advocacy in 5 Western states: California, Arizona, Nevada, Washington, and Oregon. Back in the day, she worked with Getty Oil and Texaco here in Bakersfield, California. Sarah Kurtz is a professor of material science and engineering at UC Merced, where she's working on optimizing battery storage and a variety of other studies related to energy transition. Prior to her life at UC Merced, she worked at Nrel for more than 30 years. We'll close the presentation out with Richard Chapman, CEO of the Kern Economic Development Corporation, who will give a KEDC outlook of the energy industry in Kern County and outline the importance of this collaborative. At the end of the webinar, there will be a short 2-minute survey for webinar participants to provide feedback. Please take the time to complete this survey so we can make these webinars as efficient and effective as possible, containing relevant content. We are happy you joined us this morning and cannot wait for you to hear from all of the panelists today. I am happy to note to also note that Congressman Kevin McCarthy was our first in the lineup of speakers, and he is a tad busy right now. However, he took the time to do a short video. From a technical lens, Todd cautioned us from showing videos, so Congressman McCarthy's video will be distributed on social media today and located on the Energy TT and WD website. Thank you, Congressman McCarthy, for your support of this important initiative. So let's get started. We'll begin with Tom Burke.
Well, I'm not sure if Tom has checked in, so why don't we move on to the next speaker?
Leticia, are you able to participate or start us off?
What did they say? Third time is the charm. I see Supervisor. All right, Supervisor Perez.
Sorry, slight technical setback, so forgive me. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to be with you. How do my bangs look? You never really know until you look at the Zoom camera to see if you got it right, right? Should I just
Sonia,
start?
can you hear me? Sonia, can you hear me?
Perez. Tom, we can hear you, but we're going to move with Supervisor Perez to be on standby till we finish with our first speaker. Thank you, Tom. Go ahead, Leticia.
Okay, thank you. What we have done in Kern County is so truly remarkable on so many levels that I am so grateful to be able to express to my partners in that process today what we are capable of when our greatest talents and our greatest passions come together in a way that does not seek differences that we have, but rather looks at the incredible ingenuity of the talent that we have. For those of you who don't know Dave Teasdale at Kern Community College District, he is one of my heroes, and I don't have many. So he remains on that list and has been there for some time because, one, he is absolutely an ingenious thinker. As somebody himself who's Ivy League educated, he does not limit his view of what Kern County young people and aspiring, members of our economy can do with their lives, be it, trades to, remarkable academic success, everything in between. He has been a purveyor of in closing the skills gap and really guiding me and Mike Turnipseed and Lorelei Oviatt and how we think about our workforce, how we close the skills gap, and how we really match up who our people are with an emerging and changing economy. We know every human society has evolved over time. Every energy sector has been in transition before. And we are lucky in Kern that we have the kind of experts who don't just look at the large portfolio, which is so critical, but the actual people, the actual players, whose lives are contingent on us getting it right. So I want to say thank you, Kern County. I want to say congratulations on having the largest and most successful dual enrollment program in California, in the largest high school district in the state of California. That is because of the post-partisan, if you will, relationships between Mike Turnipseed and Lorelei Oviatt and Dave Teasdale and Sonia Christian, the ultimate master guide, our local Yoda. And I want to say that I think it's the best of us, what we have come together to do to give our people actual access to upward mobility in whatever form it may occur, in whatever desire their little hearts may have. We have done that here in Kern County. And I want to say thank you to my partners. I want to say thank you to Sonia for your remarkable vision of bringing people together. And of course, those righteous moral souls like Mike Turnipseed and Lorelei, who always put Kern County above any personal interests. And I'm just so grateful. So Kern County, we have a lot of good to celebrate. We are the energy experts. We are the #1 county for renewable energy capacity in the United States of America. And it's because, of course, we have an expertise, an open door, and all of the above policy that looks to prioritize the well-being of our people and, of course, support our industries that keep Kern County running. So I hope I didn't go too long, Sonia. I'm excited because today is one of those rare opportunities where we get to really sort of brag about ourselves without making it so obvious, right? All the great work that we've done. But really, it really is an incredible, humbling reminder of what is possible, right? When the best of us come together, right, and conspire for good. I think that's a noble and worthy goal. So all my love to you. Congrats, Kern County and BC.
Thank you, Leticia. Let's go on to Tom Berg. So Tom, if you'll unmute yourself.
I apologize this morning. I'm having a little technical difficulty, but I would really like to welcome you to the first Kern Community College District Nrel collaborative webinar. Today, our team will explain why it is so important to bring this partnership with the National Renewable Energy Laboratory to Kern County. And we need to meet the challenge by leveraging our oil and gas resources to help us fully develop our clean energy resources, commercial scale solar and wind, biomass, geothermal, and energy storage solutions. Our state and nation needs us to innovate, develop, and invest in our communities and our workforce to meet these challenges. This is exciting work. A little bit about the Kern Community College District, KCCD. It serves communities over 24,800 square miles in parts of Kern, Tulare, Inyo, Mono, and San Bernardino counties. Through the 3 colleges of Bakersfield College, Suracosa Community College, and Porterville College, KCCD is geographically one of the largest community college districts in the United States, serving students who represent a diversity of religions, economic backgrounds, sexual orientations, abilities, and ethnicities. The Energy TT and WD is focused on Kern County. We are excited about the collaborative. KCCD is taking the lead in building the large collaboration with some core partners. The National Renewable Laboratory, Kern County, the Kern Economic Development Corporation, and others are partnering with us in the work to ensure Kern County's prosperous future. NREL's research and policy expertise to drive and align their work in commercial scale, renewable and clean energy options to meet state and national energy needs to fuel our future to 2045 and beyond. This work will ensure that our workforce is prepared to support a clean, renewable energy portfolio for California and lead the way nationally. Kern County and the Kern Economic Development Corporation will provide a responsive and supportive business environment that will drive Kern's expanded energy portfolio. KCCD will provide the workforce development needed to upskill and prepare our current workforce across the expanded energy sector. Why is this work so important? This work is critically important to the future economic health of Kern County. I see energy, TT, and WD playing a critical role in transforming the economic and workforce landscape in Kern. I also see Kern being a leader in the energy sector in California. I am pleased to announce today that KCCD is working on 2 grants. The CWDB HRTP, otherwise known as the California Workforce Development Board High Roads Training Partnership Grant, that will provide the resources to engage our community in regional planning, strengthening workforce training partnerships, and developing training programs. The second grant is the USDA RISE, U.S. Department of Agricultural Rural Innovation Stronger Economy Grant, which will ensure that rural Kern communities are participating in the planning, work, and benefit from the economic diversification, innovation, workforce training, and jobs that arise from an expanded energy portfolio, technology transfer, and diversified commercial environment. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sonia. Well, I just want to say how much we appreciate the opportunity to be here at the workshop today and participate in the launch of this, what I'm sure is going to be a fantastic and highly productive partnership. Thanks for setting the context so nicely, Supervisor Perez and Chancellor Burke. And special thanks to Congressman McCarthy and his staff for kind of initiating this discussion that led to us cementing this partnership. I thought for those of you not familiar with Nrel or the National Lab System, I might spend just a couple of minutes giving you some background on us. We are a U.S. Department of Energy laboratory. There are 17 in the complex, but Nrel is unique in a couple of ways. We are the only laboratory that has a mission that's dedicated to the research, development, and deployment of renewable and efficiency technologies. Most of the labs in the complex have some element of their portfolio dedicated to renewables and efficiency, but Nrel is the only lab that has a dedicated mission to these technologies. Another thing that makes Nrel unique, and the thing that has really made me always excited to be associated with the laboratory, is that we don't consider that we're successful in our mission unless the technologies that we're researching find a way to impact the marketplace. So that has led us to form many partnerships, industrial partnerships principally. And that distinguishes us from many of the other labs. We have, even though we're one of the smaller labs in the complex, not a small organization by most objective standards. We have about 3,000 people and a budget of about $500 million. But we have, even though we're among the smaller labs in the complex, we have more partnerships than any other laboratory. We have 900 active partnerships right now. And that's so we can make sure that we have the connections with industry that ensure that the research that we're doing is very relevant to the challenges they're facing with getting new technology into the marketplace. Also, part of that partnership portfolio, though, and a critical part, is our relationships with universities and colleges. And in the last 3 years, we've made a very concerted and strategic effort to increase and enhance our relationships with the universities and colleges across the country. We have realized, though, recently that really a gap in our portfolio has been our relationships with community colleges. Community colleges are such an important connection to the community and to workforce development. And we are so proud and excited to launch this part of our university relationship portfolio with Bakersfield College I know we're going to do a lot of great things together. I'm looking forward to the discussion today. Thanks.
Kathy, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Liz, and thank you, Sonia, very much. We want to thank both of you, but also the Kern Community College District and Bakersfield College for having me today. My name is Catherine Reese-Boyd, and it's truly just an honor to get to speak with groups who, frankly, value scientific study, collaboration, and innovation as much as I do in my role as president of the Western States Petroleum Association. I really think this partnership between Bakersfield College and Kern Community College District and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, frankly, is one that the entire California energy industry, frankly, should applaud. Bringing private and public partners together, really, it's an essential step in working towards what I call a sustainable energy future that really serves all of Californians. In this year alone, I certainly don't have to tell anyone on this webinar, we faced a serious pandemic, an economic crisis, an energy shortage that hurt our state when we were at, frankly, our most vulnerable. So the work you're doing is just most important than ever before. And this inclusive innovation and collaboration that Letitia talked about, like what this partnership is working to accomplish, it's really going to be necessary as we address how we provide continuous, safe, reliable, affordable energy for all of our neighbors. And I think more than ever, we're seeing the importance of a diverse energy mix in supporting our state. The oil and gas industry that I represent is certainly committed to providing energy, which we produce here in California and Kern County throughout the state under, I think, as you all know, the most stringent environmental regulations in the entire world. But we're also investing in and innovating towards renewables, alternatives, and clean energy sources throughout the state. So as an industry, we base everything we do on scientific research. We base it on data. We base it on facts. Our employees, they're scientists, they're researchers, they're engineers, and they are passionate problem solvers. That's what we do best. But we need science. We need partnerships like this one to keep advancing our understanding of energy production and, frankly, consumption and all the policies that go with it. It's just absolutely essential. So we support a diverse energy mix, looking very forward to the conversation today to look at all available technologies and options and policies, and some of which I absolutely imagine will come out of this partnership. So I greatly look forward to seeing what important work you develop and that we develop together, and I so much appreciate you having me participate in the webinar.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Sarah?
Hello, I'm Sarah Kurtz at the University of California, Merced. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you today, and it's a special pleasure for UC Merced to be able to partner with Kern County, KCCD, and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. I'm new to partnering with Kern County and KCCD, but I spent more than 30 years at Nrel, and I know Dave Mooney and others there very well. Indeed, it's great to reconnect. Indeed, over a total of 40 years, I've been really privileged to be a small part of the development of solar energy. And I've been able to see the technology develop, the prices come down, and the development and the deployment soar. And in the last year, if you do the math, you find that 22% of the electricity generated in the state of California was generated by solar energy. That's really very impressive, showing California's leadership. At UC Merced, with funding from the California Energy Commission, my group is currently studying the value of long-duration storage. So if you think about it, when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, the renewable energy can easily supply our needs. We have enough. So indeed, it's a privilege to contribute in even a small way to this historical transition, and really fun to see us so well positioned to do it. In my decades studying solar, though, I've seen complicated and divisive issues, and I know that we can successfully work through them together in partnerships like this one. I believe that working together is not only the best path, but the fastest path to transitioning to a world that will be cleaner and more equitable than the world today. So I've I've heard from some that we should consider the utility to be the enemy when we're developing solar, but I've advocated for partnership with the utility. What I see when a utility like Xcel Energy announces plans to transition to zero carbon, we're then positioned to move that direction really quickly. And when oil companies recognize that their skills could be pivotal, enabling deployment of offshore wind as well as geothermal electricity and other things, their world-leading resources can really accelerate the transition even faster. When the energy transition is carefully crafted to move individuals from one job to an even better one, the whole community can come together to create a world that's cleaner and more prosperous. I often say the beautiful thing about renewable energy is that the more we use it, the cheaper it gets, paving a pathway to prosperity for the whole world. I look forward to achieving that vision with Kern County.
Thank you, Sarah.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here today. It's wonderful to be here on such an auspicious occasion, and I'm honored to be part of this group. And frankly, what an exciting and bold initiative, and needed at this time. And the term game-changing keeps coming up when I think about this, and it really ties into what our EDC focuses on. We recently changed our mission, making it more relevant today about cultivating and promoting the boundless opportunities for business in Kern County. And we know, as many folks have said today, the importance of partnerships along the spectrum. Kern EDC, we're fortunate to have business, government, and education at the table. And that's where the rubber meets the road. And then having such a prestigious partner like Nrel, that really ups our game. As we talk about innovation laboratory, in many ways, we're an innovation laboratory here, but think how Nrel is going to enhance that. And Dave is very modest because I looked at some of the factoids about Nrel, and in addition to partnering, I believe this is the first community college system they're partnering with. That's an honor right there. They are responsible for over 570 patents, 65 R&D 100 awards, and you can all look that up. They just got 4 more in the last week, and then over $500 million of research investment. And so this is great having them at the table. We know there's a significant correlation between economic growth and innovation and patent activity. And we talk about how we have this fabulous incubator here throughout the county. Many of the, you look in East Kern with China Lake, Edwards, Mojave, and you look at West Kern with oil and gas, ag, innovation, logistics. I mean, we're number 4 in STEM jobs in the country. And we can't rest on our laurels, though. That's why tech transfer, commercialization, and transfer are critical. They're the key ingredients for regional success. We started an organization with the JP Lake, Seacorp, Kite last year, Kern Initiative for Talent Entrepreneurship. And we hope to, in addition to KEC, Kite, partner, because we know that 90% of net new jobs are from companies less than a year old. So how are we positioned to compete when other regions are running 100 miles an hour? So I think Nrel is going to add some fuel, soup up our car or whatever vehicle so that we can surpass many of these regions, because we have an amazing economic diversity. Look at energy, and you'll hear this today time and time again. We are the energy capital of the U.S. We're oil and gas top 10. We have the largest solar and wind farms in the country. Geothermal, biomass, energy storage, take your pick. And so how do we capitalize on that, right? How do we create effect change? Most states should be envious of what we have in Kern County. And again, it gets to the partners today at the table. And Nrel is going to really enrich what we're doing, and I believe it yields significant dividends. So now's the time, and let's move ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, thank you, Richard. And every time I see you, I thank you for something. And today I want to thank you for introducing me to Lorelei Oviatt, and I think it was sometime towards the end of last year when I got to connect with Lorelei and start working with her. What a treasure. And good morning to all the participants. I'm thrilled you're here. Truly grateful that you are making the time to participate in our Zoom webinar at a time seemingly defined by so many competing webinars. You are here. Thank you. I started as president of Bakersfield College in 2013, and in 2014 was brought into a conversation that Congressman McCarthy had started with the Kern Community College District and Nrel. I remember the field trip out to the beautiful Nrel campus in Colorado, and now 6 years later, we are rolling out the collaborative work with Nrel here in Kern County in a formal way. The Kern Community College District, Bakersfield College, and Saracoso have all been involved with energy one way or the other. At BC, we have strong partnerships with our oil companies. ERA, thank you for the STEM Success Center. And Chevron, thank you for the multiple projects we have done together, including the Energy Academy with the Kern Hispanic Chamber of Commerce taking the lead. So it seems natural that the Kern Community College District should take on the role of facilitating this opportunity of expansion within our energy sector, and in 4 critical ways. The first one is connecting talent to research in a systematic way to keep Kern as a leader of energy in California. And if you noticed our hashtag, if you're out in the Twitter world, social media, go ahead and do hashtag Kern Leads or hashtag Energy at Kern. The second way is contributing to smart policy. Please note, smart policy in Sacramento that is grounded in the needs of our industries and our workers. Number 3, aligning with industry partners, investors, and government representatives in the transfer of technology from research to the field. And number 4, building a comprehensive and intelligent education ecosystem, from basic skills training to the completion of a baccalaureate degree to doctoral degrees, meeting the needs of a complex workforce, all with good family wage jobs. These aspects of the core mission of the community college are reflected in the title of this work, the Energy Technology Transfer and Workforce Development Initiative. At this time, I would like to invite our featured speakers for the webinar, Dave Mooney, whom you've already met of Nrel, and Lorelei Oviatt of the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department. I will be asking Dave and Lorelei a number of questions to frame economic opportunities that are currently available, as well as those that may materialize in the future. So Dave and Lorelei, if you want to get your videos unmuted, or the crux of our discussion today is the timely development of planning strategies and actions we can engage in now to ensure Kern County a secure and prosperous future. In this conversation, Dave will in particular highlight a national perspective and Lorelei a Kern County perspective. So let's get started with some questions for our guests. I'm not seeing Dave and Lorelei, so if you want to go ahead and unmute and make yourselves visible. I'm going to start with you, Lorelei. You have years of energy experience, energy permitting, including our successes at having most of our renewables, solar and wind, in California. Please explain to us where Kern County is as it relates to energy.
Well, thank you so much for including me. my video is on. I don't know. I can see myself, so I'm not sure what the technological breakdown here is. But we do much better with renewables than we do with the Zoom technology. So Kern County has already been in the planning for decades. We have a plan to move forward, and we already, there we are, we already, as people have noted, provide a large percentage of the renewable energy for California. So one of the things I like to point out is any place that you live in California, you are getting green electrons from Kern County. Most of the renewable energy for the city of Los Angeles comes from projects that are sited and built here in Kern. We have about 602 megawatts of battery storage already in operation, but we have 3,000 megawatts in the permitting process over here at the planning department. We have the largest biodiesel in California, Crimson. We have just recently started with an alternative fuel company that makes alternative diesel from plants that's reusing a refinery. This is our future, alternative fuels. However, as you're going to hear from Dave and others, this is a new industry. I like to say that alternative fuels are what wind and solar were in 2007. Just to put this in perspective, when Kern County got all of these thousands of megawatts, in 2009, the largest solar project in the world was 10 megawatts. And I routinely permit 500 megawatt projects. We thought that was big. My planners now are like, oh, another 500 megawatts. Okay, let's do an environmental impact score. So the alternative fuel industry, that's where they're at. Lots of innovation coming out of Silicon Valley, lots of excitement, but they have not scaled up yet. We want Kern to be the place. We have the proximity to the interstate highway. I have permitting streamlining. We have an experienced workforce, and with this new partnership, we will be laying the groundwork such that when companies are ready to scale up, we will be ready for them. So I see a bright future for an expansion of our energy planning, and I want to end with an acknowledgement that the Board of Supervisors has already added to our economic development platform carbon management industry. So that is actually officially part of the Kern County Board of Supervisors platform, and we see all of these industries as a natural fit.
Well, thank you, Lorelei. And now let's jump to you, Dave. In your position at Nrel, you're aware of the leading research, development, and technology transfer activities in the energy sector. What do you see as some of the most exciting developments on the horizon? And what should we in Kern County know about to prepare ourselves and our economy for the future?
Oh, thank you. Can you see me okay? I couldn't find the renegade colors in my closet as we discussed the other day, so I got my background instead. Very, very good remarks from Lorelei in talking about what some of the future opportunities are. At Nrel, we're working based on a 10-year vision that we've developed. We several years ago, we looked through what we believed were going to be the most significant megatrends that might impact the energy sector. Issues such as a move toward greater electrification, continued population growth, economic development, and increasing standards of living, especially in developing countries, and some resulting resource competition. And we identified three main areas that we thought Nrel was well positioned to impact. That would in turn positively impact those megatrends. And the three areas that we are focused on are areas that we refer to as integrated energy pathways. So an effort to make sure that we can introduce new energy technologies that often have unique characteristics, operating and performance characteristics relative to conventional technologies, to make sure we can integrate those into the legacy system and maintain affordability and reliability and hopefully increase resilience. The second area, and this speaks very much to some of the opportunities that Lorelei was discussing, is in what we call electrons to molecules. And we see a future led by Kern County, as you all have rightly pointed out, where there is likely to be an abundance of electrons in the system from wind and solar, and often, as Sarah Kurtz referred to, storage is going to be needed. And so we envision a future where we are able to take these abundant, cheap electrons and convert small molecules like methane and carbon dioxide to chemical precursors and fuels using the energy from electrons. So that's our Electrons to Molecules initiative. And the third is a circular economy for energy materials. So this is an initiative to begin to design materials that are going to be critical for energy technologies in a way where we take into account the full life cycle utilization of those materials from the outset. So instead of mine and use and dispose in a linear fashion, the way most of our materials and technologies are deployed and consumed today, we want to be able to, at the end of a technology's life, completely reutilize the materials that are and elements that are embedded in that material. So there are tremendous opportunities, I think, in all three of these areas for Kern County. You're already leading the way in many ways in integrated energy pathways. In some of the background work that I did, in fact, not only are you is it impressive that you're the leading county in wind and solar in the country, but if Kern County were a country, you'd be 21st in wind and 20th in solar. That is really impressive. So you know how to do wind and solar clearly, but there's, I believe, remains a great deal of opportunity in distributed technologies. I think in when you're talking about the power system, one of the developments I think that is going to be so exciting and offering economic opportunity is the fact that we're moving to a much more distributed system than we've had historically. So that by technologies being deployed locally in the communities, it presents a lot of economic opportunity and in creation of jobs that can't, by definition, be outsourced. As more generation technologies get distributed into the communities at the residential and commercial level. So a lot of opportunity there. I think in electrons to molecules and in renewable fuels, this really is a tremendous opportunity. And if you look at the possibility of hydrogen generation for a fuel source and for storage of wind and solar, that's certainly a great opportunity. Carbon capture and use of methane through biocatalysis and electrocatalysis to make renewable fuels and chemical precursors, I think, is an enormous opportunity to be able to supply our fuels and our chemical needs through renewable resources. So these are some of the exciting opportunities that we see at Nrel. It's really these three objectives that I talked about for Nrel: integrated energy pathways, electrons to molecules, and circular economy for energy materials, are all very much interrelated. The way we approach them, it's premised upon an abundance of wind and solar in the system. So Kern County could be very central to the realization of a lot of the promise of these initiatives.
Wondering if you wanted to quickly respond to Dave before I go to my next question. I think you're on mute, Lorelei.
Sorry, I want to bookmark this.
Oh, she's got long hair.
So what you have here is you have this process where we have all this exciting research. That's what Dave is talking about. We have all these emerging technologies. Then you have the planning director. Who I am is the other side. The let's get something built. Let's find out what's a good fit. So part of this whole entire process is some things are good fits for California and some things won't work here because of the Clean Air Act, because of the water, because of a variety of different things. That is our future. One of the things that's so exciting about our oil industry is they have made it work in California. We have the most environmentally protective oil permitting here in Kern County, where 80% of the oil is. But it is a challenge for those companies. So I also want to put the sideboard or on this, that this process is excellent because we also need to sort through all of these kinds of things. I have entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley come to me all the time for meetings, and some of them will work here and some of them will not. And that is part of ramping up quickly so that in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we do have a robust economy. And we're not just left as we provide the green electrons for the rest of California, but we don't have a fiscal stability here to keep our libraries open, our parks open, and to keep people employed. So I just want to kind of give those two sides of it. We want all the research and all the thinking, and then we need to start filtering it through what's really possible.
Thank you. I do want to move us to our second segment, which is to talk about workforce. And a quick reminder, Earl, go ahead and drop the evaluation survey link so folks can start providing us feedback. And if you want to do a back channel conversation, please participate in the chat window. So in terms of workforce, let me start by stating the obvious. The workforce and workplace are interdependent. Each depends on the other. There is a chicken and egg puzzle to solve if our goal for Kern County is a qualified job market for a qualified workforce to create family wage jobs for skilled workers. In a 2016 article published by the Pacific Community Ventures, the average wages for working Americans have dropped by 23%. Low-wage work also features low hours, scheduling instability. It rarely raises family incomes from poverty and doesn't move families off of public benefits. We must focus on growing quality jobs in Bakersfield and Kern County. While education in isolation is not enough to solve the problem, a lack of education is enough to limit what we can do to constrain the solutions available to us. Now, a piece of data that we've been using across the state in our work in trying to seek grants is this, that 15.7% of Kern County residents ages 25 and older hold a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to California more broadly at 32%. In some of our rural communities like Arvin, baccalaureate completion is as low as 2.3%. Yet beyond the borders of Kern County, there is a widely recognized shortage of educated workforce in California. In fact, the Public Policy Institute of California has estimated that the state will have a shortfall of 1.1 million workers with bachelor's degrees by 2030. And this is unacceptable by any measure. In fact, you remember that we hosted, the Kern Community College District, working with our educational partners, hosted an intersegmental conversation tackling this problem put forward by the Public Policy Institute of that 1.1 million with a bachelor's degree. This was last year. In fact, every solution we might entertain will require an educational ecosystem that is connected from basic skills for entry-level jobs to flexible pathways that create on and off ramps between education and the workforce, all the way through baccalaureate attainment and doctorate level jobs. It will require a willingness to critically assess the traditional value propositions of education and aggressively accelerate our work and our outcomes. It will require that we treat waste as a crime, as Jeff Sutherland says in his book on Scrum techniques, and this has been something we've been using at Bakersfield College. So with the last 6 years, all of you probably are aware of the guided pathways work that we've been doing. BC has just systematically been working on developing this ecosystem with an extensive set of partners through the intersegmental guided pathways work, creating clear pathways like an intricate roadway freeway network for higher education. These guided pathways have expanded now to include students in the 9th grade in more than 30 of the 50 feeder high schools at BC. This is a systemic solution for a systemic problem. We started this work in 2014, partnering with both private and public sector. The wonderful company, and I know John Gwynn is on the line, actually generously made the initial investment in 2014 for the early college program. And then Supervisor Perez talked about the Game Changer program that was funded by Kern County with Teresa Hitchcock and Mike Turnipseed. It was the three of them figured this out. So we started with some preliminary investments. And now if you can imagine a robust early college program at every high school, starting at the 9th grade, that ensures that every graduating high school student has at least 9 college credits, and make it possible to even graduate with an associate's degree, which is 60 college credits. Imagine if students that graduate high school and enter the workforce are already competitive for the technology jobs, and students who could then complete a baccalaureate maybe in 1 year and then go on their way to UC Merced for a PhD, and given the opportunity to expand the pool of engineers, technologists, geologists, and thinkers that connect back with Kern County. So, moving to the energy sector, Dave, the clean energy sector is growing by leaps and bounds in the United States and in California specifically in terms of job creation, economic development, and investment. From your perspective, how do you see the workforce landscape evolving over the next 5 to 10 years, and what kinds of new jobs and careers do you expect we might see in the energy sector?
Well, it's a great question and an exciting one to be able to address. I started actually my career in renewable energy in the late 80s doing solar energy research. And at the time, we weren't sure if the environment that we're seeing today would actually ever come to pass. It was sort of a dream in the distant future. But I can tell you there has been no more exciting time in the energy business in general. But in the renewables space specifically, since I've been working in this field, it's enormously exciting in terms of the new technologies being taken up by the market, but also in the opportunities that are presented. If you look back over the last 10 years, I'll talk about the power sector specifically for a moment. The last 10 years, the combination of natural gas-fired generation, wind, and solar have dominated new generation capacity additions into the power system. For seven of those last 10 years, the combination of wind and solar have represented the majority. And certainly Kern County has led the way in that deployment. So there are about 6.8 or 7 million people overall in the country employed in the energy sector. And that's growing pretty rapidly. And most of that growth is in natural gas and wind and solar. About 900,000 new jobs nationally last year were added in wind and solar and in natural gas. 250,000 people in the country employed in the solar business, and and another 120,000 or so in the wind sector. And those jobs are solar installers and wind technicians are two of the fastest growing job types in the country. And so those opportunities, I think, are still going to be there. I think with the growing distributed nature of the power system, there are going to be a lot of job opportunities there. And one of our most concerted research efforts in our integrated energy pathways work is in looking at having loads, particularly residential and commercial buildings, be interactive components with the grid. There are a lot of smart technologies that are being introduced at the end use, smart appliances, air conditioners, refrigerators. All of these are loads that have historically been treated as only a load. If when it needed power was provided. There's a lot of flexibility that can be introduced with new technology that allows those smart loads, those smart appliances, to interact with the grid in ways that improve grid performance, make power more affordable, and improve the reliability and resilience of the system. But all of that technology will need to be built, will need to be installed and maintained, and that is all by definition jobs in the community. So I'm excited for the prospects of what those opportunities mean for places like Kern County. And going back to some of Lorelai's opening remarks again, I think there's perhaps some of the strongest growth could be in areas like renewable fuels and storage technologies. Kern County, I think, is so well positioned for energy storage deployment. This could be the next big thing in the power sector. It's a technology that's changed much more rapidly in a positive way than most analysts expected. There's been a reduction in lithium-ion batteries cost of about 90% in the last 10 years. I mean, it's dropped very dramatically. And because you have so much power system infrastructure already in Kern County associated with all the wind and solar you have deployed, that infrastructure is there and available, and it makes a lot of, I think, economic and logistical sense to deploy storage in Kern County to store wind and solar power. So a lot of opportunity there. But in that fuels and chemical space, I think one of our initiatives in the electrons to molecules area is if you use energy from electrons to make molecules, if you disassociate those later, you can release that energy again. And so it can also be a chemical storage in addition to making chemical precursors and renewable fuels. So I think that, as you rightly point out, Lorelai, is an area that could be ripe for rapid growth, and with all of the clean energy you already have and are contributing to the system in Kern County, you're just very, very well positioned to see that kind of growth. But there, across all of these areas, they're going to need to be engineers, technicians, a lot of automation coming into the power system and into industry, industrial manufacturing in general. So a lot of jobs in computers, and the importance of cybersecurity is becoming more and more apparent in this space. So I think a lot of jobs associated with computing, software development, and cybersecurity will also be a key part to this energy system transformation that we're seeing. So those are just a few, but I really do believe, and got very excited, honestly, when I looked more and more at how Kern County is positioning itself, to think that there's an opportunity for you all to continue to be real leaders here. And the key to me is that you are you're not anchoring yourself only with what you've done historically, but you're looking to the future to diversify your economic base. You're going to take opportunity from this transition, and I think that's going to be the key to what positions you.
Well, you got Lorelei excited there, Dave, when you were talking about Kern County. Lorelei, any quick comments in terms of, you've got everything in your head. I know you figured it all out for Kern County. So what do you think about the workforce landscape?
An emphasis, sorry, I got all choked up. An emphasis on renewable energy jobs is always good. But, the county's economic development, and I know that BC and others, the real opportunity is companies want to relocate and bring their new workforce opportunities to places that can provide clean energy. So the real workforce is for us to design who can relocate here and bring different kinds of jobs because we can provide renewable energy. We have a large amount of megawatts that are really distributed generation. Agricultural operations that now use solar for their on-site electricity. Mojave and Spaceport, most of the people there are also excited about being there for their research because they can also use renewable energy. So I think that is also what this process is going to do, is look at what are those jobs? What companies are we going to? Logistics and other sorts of technology startups that want to go someplace where they can use renewable energy for their energy needs.
Great. This is our last segment, so we will be done at 11:15 as we promised. So I think we're getting the point, both from Lorelei and from Dave, that Kern County is a powerhouse for energy development and production. Kern County is home to Midway Sunset, the second largest oil field in the United States, and oil is still our dominating energy sector, with large companies that hire thousands of employees to smaller independent facilities that employ dozens of employees in well-paying, skilled labor positions. And it is equally true that over the last several decades, we've expanded our renewable energy portfolio. Driving east on Highway 58, you can't help but notice the towering wind turbines that line the beautiful hills and mountains near Tehachapi. Kern County has sunshine and increasingly has solar energy to power homes, offices, and electric cars. As I've started getting into this energy conversation, I've also reading up on other promising developments, like in Delano, we are tapping into a rich agricultural resources to develop biomass energy using leftover debris from crop harvesting. And then recently, in talking to CRC, I know they're embarking on an exciting new carbon sequestration project funded by the U.S. Department of Energy at its Elk Hills facility. And with the discovery of the lithium at the Rio Tinto mine in Boron, and we just spoke recently to them, Kern County is positioned again to be a leader in natural energy resources as everything from phones to electric cars become more reliant on batteries made from this rare element. So the last question, as we go towards our wrap-up, Dave, back to you. Nrel is leading the way in cutting-edge research that will drive the energy economy. Could you dive a little deeper into a couple of leading research areas that might be particularly relevant to Kern County?
There are many. I've touched on them to some degree, but I will dive a little bit deeper. I think a huge opportunity across a number of different storage technologies for Kern County. And I do think that it's the next sort of big thing in the power sector anyway is in energy storage. And this was I concluded that there were great opportunities in Kern County for storage, even before I now have just learned about this lithium discovery. So there could be the full supply chain potentially for lithium-ion storage. So again, also with the energy infrastructure that already exists in Kern County for the power system, it's a natural location for locating electricity storage technologies. So a lot of our integrated energy pathways work is about integration, about how to make different technologies that have different operating characteristics, like wind and solar. The conventional power system has operated in complete balance at all times. There's demand by and large, but that was in a paradigm where utilities could control precisely the output of the generating plants. And with wind and solar, that's not true. The resources are variable, and we can't control it. The sun shines when it shines. It shines a lot in Kern County, fortunately. Not a lot of partly cloudy days to worry about. But the wind also comes and goes. So it makes operating the power system in a reliable way a little more challenging. And that a lot of the research that we do is around that. And storage is certainly going to be a major component in allowing larger and larger amounts of wind and solar on the system. So that's an area where we are doing considerable research, and utilities. Our research has come a long way, but utilities have also come a long way in understanding the relationships between markets and technologies and how all of that interacts. Electrons to molecules I've talked about in all of the segments so far, but I do think that there's so much relevance to Kern County and the use of abundant wind and solar, especially in periods when there is more wind and solar generation than there might be demand in the system. You can take those surplus electrons, if I can call them that. You can take those surplus electrons and you make chemicals and you make fuels, and you perhaps make hydrogen to run through electrolyzers or fuel cells later to generate electricity again. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We're also doing more multi-systems research. So looking at the interactions between the power system and the natural gas system. There's a lot of interdependency there. Are the interdependencies between power system and water? And I know that in some upcoming workshops that we're planning, there's going to be some focus on the energy, water, and food nexus. And I'll conclude by referring to some very exciting research that some of our colleagues have done at Nrel. One of our researchers, Jordan Machnick, has published some very interesting work that shows it's a new term is being coined called agrovoltaics. So the combining in space, the physical combining of photovoltaic arrays and agriculture is showing a lot of really beneficial synergies for both the production of PV from those arrays, but also the productivity of crops that are built underneath the arrays. So some very interesting stuff to talk about when we come to that. And because of the diversity of the landscape and the resources in Kern County, from very productive agricultural regions to highly productive solar regions, there's a lot of opportunity there. I think we could do some very important research together in the energy, water, food nexus space.
Thank you, Dave. Lorelei, your last chance.
Well, I think in 10 years that Kern County is going to be the center of excellence for carbon management for the entire United States, and we're going to produce 25,000 new jobs in 10 years. And I invite us to take that on as a goal. because when the recession happened and we started our renewable energy, we already had a little bit of wind. We had no idea what we could produce. But that is who Kern County is. Hardworking people, resilient, smart. We have the best engineers in the oil industry. We have people who want to work. And now we have the best national research lab in the world. So I think
Okay.
10 years, the Center of Excellence for Carbon Management in the entire United States is Kern County with 25,000 new jobs in all sectors, not just energy.
We are there for that, Lorelei. I think that's an awesome goal. That it pretends a very exciting research portfolio as well as really very directly connected to economic development. So we're there with you.
Well, I think Lorelei sees the future. She's the soothsayer for Kern County, and this bright future is something that's exciting. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Lorelei. And just a few comments before I hand it over to Liz to take us to the finish line. Dave mentioned the intersection between food, water, agriculture, and energy, and that is going to be the focus of the U.S. Department of Agriculture grants that KCCD is going to be applying for. So that's very exciting. And you've heard from our Chancellor, Tom Burke, and he has made it really clear that the Kern Community College District is fully in the conversation, my dear friends. We are ready to educate our future energy workforce, expanding on the solutions we have started, ready to expand the collaboration to fully realize the potential of our workforce, and ready to take full advantage of our uniquely rich geographical landscape. On that note, let me ask Liz Roselle to come back and wrap up our webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Christian. You know, this was a well-spent hour hearing from local, state, and national leaders who had their finger on the pulse of energy issues and subsequent economic and educational impacts. Thank you so much to all our panelists for your preparation and time commitment to making this webinar a success and challenging our community. Before we close out, I have two significant upcoming events to get on your calendar. Our next Energy TT and WD webinar is on Wednesday, November 18th, and will be more technical in content, discussing the future of fuels. Also, Kern Economic Development Corporation will host their annual Energy Summit on KGET Saturday, December 5th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Please join us. And finally, please don't forget to complete the webinar survey, which will help in planning for our future webinars. Look for the survey link in the chat, and you will also receive a follow-up email. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Liz.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, all clear.
That was great, wasn't it?
Well, it was better than I thought.
Well, it's better.